Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us, and for this special video showcase I'm going to be sharing with you guys one of the books that I use a lot, and this book has helped me humongously through my collection, and the reasons for that is it does actually detail and list the different variants of the Generation 1 figures that are out there. So I'm going to show you that in these pages right now. So the book is officially known as the Unofficial Guide to Vintage Transformers from the 1980s through to the 1990s. So it does touch a bit on Beast Wars and I think it was Machine Wars, but it is predominantly Generation 1 figures. And of course there we have the Generation 1 Optimus Prime. And then for the contents you can see, as I say, way more than half, near enough all of the book is about Generation 1. So you've got the years through the Generation 1 continuity, right up to there, and then as I say, then we've got a little bit of Generation 2 Beast Wars and Machine Wars, and then some interesting few pages on merchandise. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail, and it does touch on here briefly about obviously pre-Transformers, which is where a lot of the Transformers actually came from. So like your Diaclone, like your Micro Change and your Microman, and this is the legendary blue streak that is of course blue. And as I say, this was from Diaclone, which was just only fractionally before Transformers, but this is where they took a lot of their ideas and they just used the molds, but they didn't put the pilots in. And of course, there's a lot of detail with it in there. But if you're going to get this book, I'll let you read it yourself. I'll briefly talk about this because I mentioned this book as well, and I've found that book incredibly useful. And for those of you who collect Beast Wars, there is a Beast Wars Unofficial guide as well. Okay, let's get started looking at this book. So we've got 1984, and again it touches on the Diaclone range, and for anybody who doesn't know, Optimus Prime in Japan was known as Convoy or Battle Convoy, and there is his original incarnation before he was known as Optimus Prime. And there's a few others there as well, obviously you'll recognise them. So now we've got onto the actual 1984, and the best thing about this is there you go, you've got your checklist, so you can see there you've got your two different types of Bumblebee, yellow body and red body, and the same as your Cliff Jumper. So this is going to alert you to the different types of variants that are about. And there's Optimus Prime, you've got silver roller and large components, blue roller and standard components. That's where you can get into the rabbit hole of all the completely different variants. It's quite amazing, to be honest. Same with mini-bots, as you're going to see in a second. So we've got some Japanese mini-bots boxed. They weren't carded like the Hasbro versions. And we're going to carry on looking at these. So this is all, as I say, still in 1984. There is the legendary Bumble Jumper or Bumper, and as I mentioned in the video I did on Minibots recently, there's a carded example on a Cliff Jumper card. So obviously that figure was never officially released by Hasbro or Takara, but he was released, by Hasbro, but not as an official toy or as an official character. They released it by complete accident, and there's the proof because somebody's got a sealed one of it. So I'm not going to go through every single page, but the first few pages are really interesting. So you've got the differences between the Takara and the English or the Hasbro American releases, and you can see that all the Takaras are in boxes and they use the polystyrene instead of the bubbles which Hasbro used. Okay, flicking through it, these are all just your normal figures. I'm going to show you a few things that stand out, like the legendary MB boxes, which again were released in the Western world but with the polystyrene inserts, and these are very sought after items. We've also got the same here with Soundwave and Megatron. The original Japanese Megatron was not chrome, it was like a dull plastic finish, and he had blue on the inside of his legs, whereas obviously the Megatrons that we know had the red on the inside of the leg with a lovely chrome finish. What I like about this book as well is not the fact that it's got the Japanese ones in, but it's got everything. So you've got the CG red-footed France Prime there. Again, I've done a video on him. And then you've got some of the really, really rare Japanese collection gift sets there as well. Now, this is where it gets into their funny world or rabbit hole of all mini-bots. And as I say, this is where it's showing you some of the original boxes, how they came out before Transformers. And then this is where you go down the rabbit hole, and they've got all the different colours. I've got a white Cliff Jumper, I put that on the last video, but look, you've got orange Bumblebees. This talks about Antex, which is this company here that made all these. And watch this space, funnily enough, I've got a few of these coming soon, so I'm going to be able to go into a bit more detail on their own videos. And then here we go, look at these for mini-bot variants. You'll recognise the characters, but you won't recognise the colours, and these can fetch some absolutely astonishing prices, like literally $500 each for some of these, just to collect the mini bots. So that's probably another reason why I've not gone down that rabbit hole too much. Then we've got El Greco, which was another company that made the mini bots, and they actually did, and again, watch this space, I've got one of these coming. This is a miscarded Huffer on an El Greco card, so it should be Brawn, but they put Huffer on there, and again, I've got one of them on the way, which I can't wait to show you. Next is 1985, and this is where we go again into some of the different variants. It's talking about there with your mini bots, showing you that there's two different colours. But then when it's talking about the mini spies, and then it talks about the mini bot cars carded. So the fact you can see there, it says they've got white and grey borders, and I'll show you that in a second. And then there's nothing else on here coming. Oh, there you go, Whirl with a cockpit cage and a plane cage. So this is all the figures that came out in 85, and it's telling you the variants of them. So there's the mini spies, and then this is what I was on about earlier. You see you've got Sea Spray carded there. This one here has the white border around Sea Spray, and this one has the grey border. It's crazy. For the people who don't, as I say, and are not really sure of this, the amount of variants out there is ridiculous. It really is a massive rabbit hole, and that's what I find more interesting. There's the bearded Warpath and standard one. Again, I've just recently done that in a mini bot video for you all. And the reason why I'm going through this page by page at the moment is till we come to this guy. There is the legendary red MB Trax with the Transformers stickers on. So this isn't the Diaclone version, this isn't the gig version, this is a legitimately, you can see, packed and officially sold red Trax. Again, unicorns, absolute unicorns these are to find. I actually know a collector who's got one of these. I've not seen it in hand yet, but what a beautiful piece that is. So this is just the rest of the figures. There's the Takara original white Astro Train. I know they've reissued that as part of the Takara books more recently, but he was officially released as a Generation 1 figure. And then there's the rest of these. I know as well, some of you might not know this, so I hope I'm not going into too much detail and boring you all. The yellow Constructicons in France under Sage 8 were released as part of Generation 1. And I can't remember what a collector referred to it as something really, really incredibly hilarious. I think it was a unicorn on a rocking horse, poo or whatever they call it. They're that rare to find, but these are legitimate yellow Constructicons released for Generation 1 in France only. So if you see one of them, let me know. And then finally, before we, as I say, start flicking through more of the pages, there is the Canadian red-faced Slag. So he's more cartoon accurate. So that's, I know, we're only up to 1985, and look at all the variants already. It's crazy, isn't it? It's so interesting. It really, really is interesting, all the different variants. I'm just going to keep flicking through some of these pages. There's, of course, the legendary Pepsi Primes. That's the Canadian one there with the full trailer covered, and then the American one there with just that bit. And this is where it gets really interesting. So 1986, if we go to Protector Bots, you've got all the Protector Bots there with plastic chests, with metal chests. You've got the Predacons where my thumb is there, metal chest, plastic chests, Combaticons, and it's telling you again all these variants. So look, even the cassettes, they were released with silver weapons and gold weapons. Now, I don't ever think that I'll ever manage to amass all of these, but there you go, that's just a start. You've also got boxed items now, so you've got triple changes boxed, you've got the standard box, or you've got the poster box. You've got the standard box for Blitzwing or the poster box for Blitzwing. There are so many variants of all these figures. There's the Takara launching Silverbolt. I've touched on that in other videos, the fact that they had Takara launching things. I think I've actually showed you him in my one of my videos. He's known as Drago under the gig release of him. So it's got the gig versions, it's got the Takara versions, it's got the Hasbro versions. It's got everything in here. It's such a good book. It really, really is. I find it... You can probably tell by my enthusiasm just how much I do like it. Here's your Ultra Magnuses, standard box, poster box, silver tips, blue tips, painted face, all the ones, rubber tyres, plastic tyres, all the ones again that I've shown you in videos. So if you're new to my channel and you've just sort of subscribed because of the new collection video, check in playlist or type in the actual name of the characters. I've got 3 variants of Magnus, Gig, Takara and Hasbro, and they've all got different parts to them. Oh, there's some interesting stuff. There's an original powered convoy, so that's not an error there at all. I'm not going to go into too much detail because that's not classed as Transformers. There's the original box for Reflector. That's now used as the box for the KO version, so be aware of that. And there's your Triptychon 87. So now we've got even more variants coming out. So of course they re-released all the protector bots with decoys, and of course now they'll all be plastic chest variants. And yeah, there's a list. It's like a checklist, just like what you used to have in the posters. Really good. Rest of the figures. So this is the Headmasters, and I'm going to show you this because on my Instagram, that's toys_rus. If you've not got an Instagram or seen it, I've just put a picture of Leon up, which is the orange guy in the middle, looks like a lion. And people have been asking me lots of questions about these. So these are exclusive Takara Headmasters. And of course now, because we're up to the year of the Headmasters, you're going to start to see some of the Takara stuff turn up, like Artfire and of course Stepper. Really rare items. I'm going to keep flicking just to give you an idea. As I say, this book, it's amazing. There's the exclusive Japanese cassettes. Again, funnily enough, just had a re-release via Hasbro and maybe Hasbro Pulse. We didn't see him in the UK again, unfortunately. And there's Raiden, and in the gift set, and in the individual trains. And of course, we've got Sound Blaster and Twin Cast in their original releases there as well. 1988, so Hasbro were just releasing Pretenders and Power Masters, which you're going to see here, but then in Japan they were known as Godmasters, and there's the difference there. You've got Ranger, which wasn't of course Joyride, so this really helps if you're about to go down that Japanese rabbit hole, as they call it, as I know a few of the subscribers and a few people have been commenting or been speaking to privately as well, talking about how to get into it. This book will definitely help you with that. So there's your Pretenders, there's the beautiful Metal Hawk, there's some of the Beasts and the Gunners, carded figures. Again, the pictures are stunning, absolutely stunning. You can clearly see that they are very clear, they're not smudged, they show them in the different variations, they show them sometimes in all of the modes. There we've obviously got the beautiful Black Zarek standing right next to Scorponok, and there of course is Grand Max, the Fortress Maximus repaint, who actually had the Pretender shell with him as well. Moving on to 89. Now this is obviously, it's still only listing the official Hasbro releases, but it does show you some of the Japanese ones as well, which is really good. So Micromaster bases, there's Countdown, there's the Takara box, and then here's some of the Pretender monsters and the Mega Pretenders, and then we move on to the Takara stuff because 89 was Victory. So there's Desirus, Decepticon leader, and of course Star Saber, Autobot leader. 1990, again, Micromasters and unfortunately Action Masters. Nice artwork, well, nice photographs, isn't it, rather than artwork. Lovely pictures, plain as day. You can see everything about it, it details all the things. Even coming into Action Masters now, shows you in both modes. So I think that's really useful. There's the bike and there's obviously the other mode. And then the other reason, here we go, 1991. Now with me living in the UK, I'm quite lucky to have quite a lot of these already. And I've started doing some videos on them. And again, in my collection video, I touched on it a bit. And it's also, it can be known as the in-between. It can be known as Generation 1.5. And a lot of these figures you may have seen later on actually officially released in Generation 2. Not these ones here, but you'll see in a second. But these were out in Europe way before. There's the European exclusive Action Masters, even though they've got the things, the backpacks mixed up. I'm going to do a video actually on these this week, so keep an eye out for them. And then we've got the Action Master Elites there. And then these are the ones that I was on about. These came out officially as Generation 2 releases just afterwards, but in Europe, and of course the UK is in Europe, they came out beforehand. We actually got them as part of Generation 1. Your Predators and your Turbo Masters, and again I know they were released afterwards. In Japan we had the time of Zone was 1990, and then I think it was Return of Convoy was the correct name, and of course Optimus's Convoy, and he came back as Star Convoy. There's the Japanese version of Metroplex known as Metro Titan. And again, here's all the official Japanese releases. Grandus, they had so much more. Here we go, 1993 Generation 2. So there's your checklist. I've got a few of these, but it's just an avenue I can't go down. And I'm going to, for the purpose of the video though, show you the rest of the book. It's only fair. There you've got the multicoloured Dinobots. We've got the little jets, the little accelerators. So, you know, it covers everything. It really is very, very good if you're trying to collect everything, and definitely have a look at it. There's your Generation 2 Megatron, obviously he's not a gun anymore, and here are of course your yellow Constructicons, which are now officially Generation 2 releases, not like the CJ1s from earlier. And there's of course again the much rarer and harder to find orange versions. There's the redecos of Silverbolt, Silverbolt, and of course Superior, and of course the redecos of Bruticus. There were and are incredibly rare pieces, redecos of the Stunticons. They didn't get officially released, but you can sometimes see them pop up on eBay for house deposits each one. It's crazy. Here's the rest of the Generation 2 figures. I'm just going to flick through this. It's coming to the end. It's got everything in here, as I say. You can't go wrong with this book. I think we've moved on. No, we're still on to Generation 2. Now we're into Beast Wars intro. So if you guys are into Beast Wars, I know that Collector 75 Graham is. Shout out to him, obviously. Here's everything carded for you. Lovely. Just have no space to start collecting these as well, and I'm being quite good at that. There we've got Machine Wars, and these are mainly just redecos. And then we've got some interesting stuff in the merchandise things, to be honest. So we've got collector's cases, games, Rock'em Sock'ems, Optimus Primes, jigsaw puzzles, pencil cases, artwork, rubber stamps, again all these things that are just, I suppose they're just nice little touches, aren't they? Things to look out for, lunch boxes, kites even, all things around the world that just, you know, they look really good. Videos, posters, everything. Laserdiscs even, wow, a Laserdisc version of Transformers the movie there, and then a few other stories that have been released in comics since. But there you go guys, this hopefully has been interesting for you. As I say, I've used this book loads, I find it fantastic. Just even the pictures in it, it's great to just look at the pictures, let's be honest, but the fact that it's so detailed, it's got so much information regarding all the other variants, it's helped me enormously. And even if you don't want to be as crazy or as daft as me and try and get all the different variants, it's nice to know that the ones that you've got are official, because I've had a few people message me since I've started this channel, oh, you know, my spring feels really heavy because he's got a metal chest. Is that normal? It's totally normal. It says in the book there. And, you know, so on and so forth. Same with the Metal Toad variants of Hot Rod and Rodimus Prime. These are all official releases, so it's reassuring for you guys to know. So I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you found this interesting. If you've managed to stay on for me for all 18 minutes, thanks very much. You've obviously got as much interest in Transformers as I have. So yes, I hope you found this interesting. And yeah, go and get it if you can. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for subscribing and commenting. And of course, please take care.